The silence before the jump was unbearable. Captain Marcus Hale stood on the bridge of the UNS Resolute, his eyes fixed on the holographic display that stretched across the command deck like a floating wound in the air. The stars flickered, distorted by the artificial gravity fields, and beyond them, unseen but certain, waited the warzone known only as Delta Perseus. The war had been dragging for 9 years. The Kravath Dominion, a cold and efficient alien power from the Perseus arm, had pushed humanity to the brink. Entire colonies had gone dark, no signals, no survivors, just debris fields spinning silently around dead suns. The Earth Federation had called it a strategic retreat. Everyone else called it what it was: defeat. Now, the last of humanity's strength, the 11th Fleet, known to soldiers as the Dangerous Fleet, was preparing for its final engagement. ETA to slipspace window, 20 seconds, Lieutenant Juno Park reported. Her voice carried no emotion, just exhaustion, the kind of tone that came after losing too many friends to the void. Marcus didn't answer immediately. His reflection in the viewport looked older than his 42 years. Streaks of gray ran through his hair, his jaw clenched tight. He wasn't afraid of dying, no captain in this war had the luxury of fear. What haunted him was the thought of failure. "Fleet-wide channel," he said finally. A soft chime echoed. Across 200 warships, from the nimble Halberd-class escorts to the behemoth Leviathan carriers, every soldier and pilot froze, waiting for his voice. "This is Captain Hale of the Resolute," he began, his words slow, deliberate. "We've all lost something. Families. Worlds. Futures we'll never live to see. The Kravath think we're broken, that humanity's run out of fight. They're wrong. We are the line. We are the reason Earth still breathes. Today, we remind them what it means to face humans who have nothing left to lose." Silence followed, thick and heavy. Then came the sound, the unmistakable roar of thousands of throats, a fleet's worth of soldiers shouting into open calms. It wasn't discipline. It was fury. "Slipspace window opening," Park called out. The void rippled, a black wound tearing itself open in front of them. Space distorted, twisted, and then imploded into a blinding white flash. The Resolute surged forward, followed by the entire fleet, humanity's last hope diving into the unknown. The transition was violent. Space twisted, time fractured. Then a jolt. "Exit complete," shouted Ensign Alvarez. All ships accounted for reading heavy interference. Multiple signatures inbound. Marcus's eyes snapped to the tactical display. The enemy had already surrounded the entry vector. Hundreds of Kravath cruisers drifted in formation, bone-colored hulls pulsing with bioluminescent veins, organic and wrong. "Damn it," Marcus muttered. "They knew we were coming." "They always do," Park whispered. "Signal the fleet. Formation Delta 7. Deploy drones, full ECM sweep. No one fires until my mark." The Resolute shuddered as magnetic catapults launched swarms of drones into the void. They spread like a metallic mist, broadcasting false readings to confuse Kravath sensors. A low, guttural voice crackled over the comms, the Kravath commander. The translation matrix rendered it in a cold monotone. "Human vessels. You are surrounded. You fought well. Surrender, and you may live to witness your extinction." Marcus smirked. "Not today." He turned to his weapons officer. "Lieutenant Chen. Lock all rail batteries. Target their lead dreadnought, the big one with the glowing skull. Target locked." He waited a heartbeat. The crew stared at him, tension palpable. "Fire." The Resolute's rail cannons roared at streaks of molten tungsten ripping through the darkness at 15,000 meters per second. The enemy's shield flared blue, then collapsed. The dreadnought's hull split open, spilling white-hot plasma. That was the spark. The entire fleet opened fire, railguns, particle lances, missile volleys, painting space with streaks of violet light. The Kravath responded in kind, their organic vessels spewing plasma arcs that curved unnaturally, bending around debris as if alive. "Forward shields failing," shouted Park. "Redirecting power from aft. Maintain course." Marcus barked. The moment we break formation, we're done. The Resolute plunged into the maelstrom. Fighters screamed past, weaving between burning hulks. One of the escort ships, UNS Valiant, took a direct plasma hit, disintegrating into a bloom of fire and twisted steel. Marcus didn't flinch. He couldn't. Status of enemy line? Chen's fingers flew across the console. Their left flanks breaking. The Independence and Arkansas are pushing through. Good. Tell them to cut the gap open, we're driving straight into their command carrier. He switched to fleet-wide comms again. This is Hale. Target their flagship. All ships, converge on my mark. Captain, that's suicide. Park hissed. He looked at her, and for a brief moment the mask cracked, not fear, but determination. If we die, we take them with us. He raised his hand. Mark. The human fleet surged forward, ignoring damage warnings and alarms. Ships burned, shields collapsed, but they didn't stop. Through the chaos, the Resolute punched through the enemy line, its railguns tearing through alien hulls like paper. Then the main target came into view, the Kravath command carrier, a grotesque leviathan kilometers long, its surface rippling like muscle tissue under translucent armor. Lock everything we have, Marcus ordered. All batteries. All missiles. Fire when ready. The ship's engines screamed. Hundreds of projectiles and torpedoes streaked toward the alien carrier, impacting in a single, thunderous cascade. The explosion was so bright it blinded every optical sensor in the fleet. When the light faded, the enemy carrier was gone, a molten wreck drifting silently in the dark. Cheers erupted across every channel. But Marcus didn't celebrate. His gaze stayed fixed on the display, watching the enemy formations scatter. He knew this wasn't over. Enemy retreating, Chen reported. We did it. Marcus shook his head slowly. No. They're regrouping. This was their vanguard. As if on cue, the sensors lit up, hundreds more signatures appearing beyond the nebula wall. Bigger. Heavier. The bridge fell silent. Marcus exhaled, his voice calm but cold. Then we hold. Prepare for round 2. Outside, the wreckage of ships drifted like ash in the starlight, the opening act of humanity's last stand. The battlefield was a graveyard. Wrecks of human and Kravath ships drifted together, tangled in silence. Fragments of armor plates spun lazily through the dark, glinting in the light of a distant star. Plasma fires burned without air, casting ghostly blue glows over the drifting dead. On the UNS Resolute, the lights flickered. The smell of ozone hung heavy in the bridge, mixed with the faint, acrid bite of burned circuits. Report, Captain Marcus Hale said. Lieutenant Park's fingers danced across her console, her face pale. 73% of our shields are gone. Weapons grid operating at 41%. We've lost contact with the Arkansas, Trident, and the Redding. Engines are running hot, but stable. Marcus nodded grimly. Casualties? Too many, Park whispered. The comms crackled to life. This is Admiral Cortez aboard the UNS Titan. All surviving vessels, form defensive perimeter around Rally Point Delta 4. We're not done yet. Marcus exhaled. Cortez was one of the few commanders still holding this far from Seoul. A veteran of the Jupiter campaigns, steady, relentless, and impossible to kill. Set course for Delta 4, Marcus ordered. The Resolute's thrusters flared, pushing the battered destroyer through the wreckage field. Around them, the remnants of humanity's dangerous fleet limped toward the rally point, fractured, smoking, but alive. Through the viewport, Marcus could see the Titan looming ahead, a massive, dark-edged warship bristling with rail batteries. The last true Leviathan-class ship still operational. As they drew near, a hailing request appeared. Marcus accepted. Admiral Cortez's hologram materialized in front of him, her face lined and fierce, hair cut short, eyes burning with the kind of calm that only came from a lifetime of war. Captain Hale, she said. You took heavy fire, but you're still breathing. Good. Barely, Marcus replied. We destroyed their command carrier. But it didn't stop them. There's another wave coming bigger than before. Cortez nodded. We see them. The sensors are calling it a silent wave, a formation moving with zero energy signatures. We're estimating over 300 Kravith warforms. Marcus frowned. Stealth approach? Worse, Cortez said. Adaptive cloaking. Our scans catch glimpses, then nothing. It's like they're swimming through the fabric of space itself. Silence filled the bridge. Even Park's breath caught. Cortez continued, her tone low. We'll have one shot to hit them before they close. We're forming a kill box, heavy batteries at the center, missile cruisers at the flanks. We'll bait them into range. The Resolute will hold the vanguard. Marcus gave a short nod. Understood. Cortez's gaze softened for a moment. Marcus, they're coming for all of us. If this line breaks, Earth won't have time to rebuild. Do what you have to. The transmission ended. Marcus stood there for a moment, hands clasped behind his back. Then he spoke softly, all stations, prepare for silent contact. No emissions. Cold power. I want every man and woman aboard ready for what comes through that dark. The lights dimmed. Engines cut to standby. The ship drifted in silence among the wreckage, a corpse pretending to be dead. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. The void stretched on, endless and black. Captain, Park whispered, I'm picking up gravimetric distortions, minor, irregular. Could be debris. Could be them, Marcus said quietly. Hold your fire. Every second dragged like an hour. The crew barely breathed. Even the hum of the life support felt too loud. Then, the distortion intensified. The stars themselves seemed to bend. Out of the darkness, the Kravith silent wave emerged. Hundreds of ships phased into existence like ghosts, enormous and twisted, their surfaces rippling as though alive. They moved without thrusters, gliding silently, their hulls drinking in all light. Holy hell, muttered Alvarez. Marcus's voice cut through the dread. Targeting on my mark. Wait for the flagship to reveal its core. The alien ships closed the distance, 50,000 kilometers, then 40. Their organic hulls began to pulse with pale energy, charging for a synchronized strike. 30,000, Park whispered. The tactical display bloomed with red markers. Now, Marcus said. All guns, fire. The Resolute unleashed everything it had left. Railguns thundered. Missiles roared away in waves. The rest of the fleet followed, the void exploding with light. The Kravith answered instantly. Streams of plasma and particle lances rained across the human formation. 2 frigates, UNS Hartford and UNS Nova, vaporized in seconds. The calms erupted with screams and static. Forward shield at 20. Park shouted. We can't hold this line. Redirect reactor output to kinetic barriers, Marcus ordered. Keep firing. One of the alien ships rammed through the debris, slamming into the Resolute's portside. The impact hurled the bridge crew from their stations. Sparks showered from the ceiling as consoles exploded. Marcus hit the deck hard, his vision swimming. Damage control, he barked, pulling himself up. Report. Port reactor offline. Decks 5 through 8 decompressed. Park shouted, blood running down her temple. Seal the compartments. Fire auxiliary thrusters, we can't let them board. But it was too late. Hull sensors screamed as Kravith boarding pods attached like ticks, cutting through armor with glowing mandibles. Marcus grabbed his sidearm from the console. Park, you're in command of the bridge. I'll hold the line below. She turned toward him, disbelief flashing in her eyes. You can't be serious. I'm not asking. He was gone before she could argue, sprinting through the smoke-filled corridor as the ship shuddered under enemy fire. The lower decks were chaos, alarms blaring, bulkheads buckling. Human Marines in powered armor clashed with Krovath soldiers that burst through the hull like living machines, their limbs glinting with organic metal, faces hidden behind translucent chitin. Marcus fired his pistol, the recoil slamming through his arm. A Krovath fell, its body convulsing before collapsing into ash. Another lunged from the smoke. Marcus shot it point blank. "Hold the corridor," shouted Sergeant Nolan Reed, a burly Marine with a scorched helmet. "We can't let them reach engineering." Marcus ducked behind a damaged bulkhead. "Status? They're flooding in through sections D and E. We're losing men fast." The lights flickered again, then went red. "Captain." Park's voice cut through the calm. "We're breaching critical heat levels. If we don't vent the reactor." "Do it," Marcus said. "Even if it kills us." "Understood." The floor vibrated violently as emergency vents opened, blasting radiation-charged plasma into space. Several Krovath shrieked as their armor disintegrated under the heat. The moment bought them seconds, no more. Marcus raised his weapon again, firing until the magazine clicked empty. Above, through the cracked ceiling, he could see flashes of light, human ships exploding one by one, the Titan still fighting at the center like a burning star. He could feel it in his bones, they were losing. Still, he smiled faintly, blood streaking down his cheek. "If we go down," he whispered, "we'll make it count." He reached for his comb. "All surviving ships," he said hoarsely. "Begin fallback to the Titan. Protect the Admiral. The Resolute will cover the retreat." "Captain," Park began. "Do it." Then, quieter, he added, "You've done well, Juno." The line went silent. Outside, the Resolute turned its battered hull toward the heart of the Krovath swarm, a single dying ship standing against the tide. The UNS Resolute drifted through the fire. What had once been a destroyer, proud, sleek, engineered for precision warfare, was now a bleeding ruin. Hull plates hung loose, oxygen vented in glittering trails, and one engine burned in silent fury. Captain Marcus Hale stood on the bridge, his uniform scorched, one sleeve torn and blood-soaked. He leaned over the command console, staring through the cracked viewport. The Krovath fleet blotted out the stars, hundreds of living warships, their organic hulls pulsing like the veins of a god. "Status," he rasped. Lieutenant Juno Park's voice trembled, but her hands were steady on the controls. "Reactor at 6%. Weapons down to manual operation. We've got 20 Marines alive, maybe 30 crew. The rest..." Marcus closed his eyes. "I know." She swallowed hard. "Sir, the Admiral's calling. They're asking for your signal to jump." Marcus looked at the flickering hologram of Admiral Cortez. Her ship, the Titan, burned in the distance, surrounded by a wall of Krovath carriers. Despite the chaos, she managed a thin smile. "You did it, Hale," she said. "Your attack opened their flank. We're preparing the evacuation jump to Seoul." He nodded. "You'll make it." Her expression darkened. "And you?" Marcus didn't answer right away. His eyes lingered on the display, dozens of red indicators marking incoming Krovath cruisers. "Someone has to keep them busy," he said finally. "If they follow you, Earth dies." Cortez's jaw tightened. "Damn it, Marcus." He cut her off. "That's an order, Admiral." For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then she saluted, a sharp, defiant motion. "Godspeed, Captain." The transmission ended. Marcus turned to Park. "Plot a course straight into their command core. All remaining power to engines and forward shields." She stared at him. "That's suicide." He met her eyes. "That's the point." The bridge lights dimmed as systems rerouted. The hum of the dying reactor deepened, a sound like the heartbeat of a dying beast. Through the viewport, the Krovath formation loomed larger, grotesque shapes gliding closer, mouths of plasma charging for the kill. Marcus tapped the comms panel. "Shipwide broadcast. Open channel." A tone sounded, the ship's last voice reaching every deck, every surviving soul. "This is Captain Hale," he said quietly. "You've all fought like legends. Whatever happens next, know that you've already done more than anyone could ask. You're not dying for orders or for pride. You're dying for the billions who will never see this battlefield. You're dying so they'll have tomorrow. His voice wavered for the first time. It's been an honor. He ended the transmission. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Park's voice came, soft, almost reverent. All hands to stations. Let's finish this. The Resolute accelerated, its engines screaming. The ship surged through the debris field, dodging the drifting corpses of Allied vessels. As it moved, the surviving Kravath turned toward it, their weapons lighting up in unison. Multiple locks, shouted Alvarez. Incoming plasma. The viewport flared white as the first salvo hit. The ship lurched sideways, alarms blaring. Bulkheads buckled, the deck split open in places. Forward shields gone. Park called. Hold course. Marcus shouted over the chaos. We're not stopping until we hit their heart. Another explosion rocked the ship. A structural beam tore loose, crushing a console. Smoke filled the bridge. Marcus! Park yelled, struggling to stay upright. We've lost control surfaces. Then fly blind, he roared. Outside, rail slugs from the Resolute's remaining cannons tore into Kravath cruisers, shattering them into organic fragments. A squadron of alien interceptors dived in, firing molten plasma bursts. The Resolute's automated turrets responded, slow, damaged, but deadly. 2 interceptors vaporized, a third rammed into the hull, tearing open a new wound. The ship's AI flickered alive, its voice broken and distorted. Warning, hull integrity, 17%. Marcus wiped soot from his eyes. 17's good enough. He gripped the controls himself, overriding the helm. Brace for ramming vector. Park turned to him, realizing. You're flying us in manually? He nodded. Someone's got to make sure we hit the right monster. The Kravath command vessel appeared ahead, the silent matriarch. Larger than any ship ever built by human hands, it pulsed with internal light, veins glowing deep crimson. Energy fields rippled across its armor like tides. Marcus stared at it, unblinking. There you are. Range, 20,000 kilometers, Park said. Fire everything we have left. The Resolute vomited fury. Its last missiles, torpedoes, and kinetic shells screamed across the void. They struck the matriarch's shields, tearing fissures across its living hull. 5,000 kilometers. Now or never. Marcus slammed the throttle forward. The ship's engines howled as they reached critical. Plasma bled from the exhaust vents like fire. The Kravath retaliated beams of pure energy slashed through space, carving away the Resolute's armor. The bridge shook violently. Reactor breach imminent. Park shouted. Good, Marcus said softly. He looked at her one last time. Juno, get to the escape pod. She shook her head. Not a chance. Their eyes met. For the first time, neither spoke as captain and officer, but as two people who had already crossed the line between duty and death. Then Marcus smiled faintly. Then let's end this together. The Resolute plunged forward, engines overloading, hull tearing apart. The Kravath matriarch opened its core weapon, a yawning vortex of molten energy gathering for release. Impact in 3 seconds, Park whispered. Marcus's voice was calm. For Earth. He slammed his palm on the reactor override. The core went white. There was no sound, only light. A blinding, expanding sphere erupted from the Resolute's core, swallowing everything in its path. The explosion ripped through the Kravath formation, vaporizing ships, shattering energy fields, and sending shockwaves that tore through the fleet's heart. From the distant Titan, Admiral Cortez watched as the human destroyer disappeared in a sunbright flash. The Kravath line faltered, then broke. Their command ship gone, their coordination shattered, the alien fleet fell into disarray. Human vessels that had been retreating suddenly found openings, counterattacks that sliced through confused enemy ranks. Signal all ships. Cortez shouted. Push them back. The Resolute gave us our chance, take it. Her fleet roared to life, driving the enemy out of Delta Perseus. Hours later, the last Kravith ship fled into the void, leaving behind a field of burning debris and silence. Cortez stood at the Titan's observation deck, watching the dying light of the Resolute's explosion fade among the stars. She whispered quietly, almost to herself. Dangerous fleet, mission accomplished. The war wasn't over. Humanity had lost half its navy, countless lives, and its most fearless captain. But Earth would see another sunrise. And in the darkness where the Resolute had fallen, a fragment of its hull still glowed faintly, drifting endlessly through the void, a silent monument to the men and women who refused to surrender.